foul. That was absolutely ridiculous.
The Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Up on down. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series.
I don't know. It's tough. Tom's up there, man. Beantown.
What's up, Boston Bruins? Boston Bruins.
What is going on, YouTube? It's boy Jess. I'm here on YouTube and from Beantown Takes. We're back again with another video, and today we are reacting to the Bruins offseason review from Top Shelf Hockey. I have not done my offseason recap for the Bruins yet in an article. I will be doing that very soon on the website, beantowntakes.com. Make sure you go check out the website. I will be putting my article there on my thoughts and opinion on the offseason for the Boston Bruins. I also have to do one for the Red Sox trade deadline, the Patriots offseason, and maybe even a couple other topics too that I'm blanking off the top of my head. But today we're going to be reacting to Top Shelf Hockey's offseason review and kicking back, relaxing a little bit, because obviously you guys know I was going non-stop from mid-April to the end of June for the Boston Celtics. It was non-stop, constantly, and I just needed to take a step back from the channel and then regather myself, re-energize myself. But now it is time to get back on the grind here, and today we are doing that with the Bruins offseason review. Now, the Bruins made a few moves, a couple of them that were eye-opening to me. Elias Lindholm, center, right winger from Vancouver, and defenseman Nitka Zendorov from Vancouver as well. Both of them big splashes for the Boston Bruins. In 2021-2022, Elias Lindholm had 42 goals and 40 assists and had 82 points. Whew. Yeah, if we can get that Elias Lindholm, man, that's going to be a great pickup. He took a step back last year. He had 15 goals, 29 assists, 44 points in his time with Calgary and Vancouver. Wasn't that great during the regular season, but the postseason was where he flourished at the most. And last postseason, he had 5 goals, 5 assists for 10 points. It was a +4 on the ice. And he's a center. He's known to be a center. And he will be your first-line center going forward. That was a big need for the Boston Bruins. Ever since Patrice Bergeron retired, Mike and I have been preaching that to the fullest. You need a first-line center. You need a first-line center. You need to get yourself a first-line center this offseason, and that's what they did with Elias Lindholm. They gave him a big contract. He's 29, turning 30, so he's a known player in the league, and he's had some success in the past. And the second name that the Bruins got was Nikita Zendorov. Sorry again if I'm butchering the name, obviously. I'm not too good with the Russian names or whatever, but last year, his nickname is Big Z. He's not getting that. He's not getting that nickname here. I'm sorry. That is sticking with Zdeno Chara. Zendorov, one of the better defensemen in the league. He only had 5 goals, 9 assists last regular season. Again, defenseman is really not that much known for scoring and assists or whatever. He had 124 hits last season. He had 49 blocks. So that's blocked shots if you didn't know. Very good on the defensive end, and they gave him a pretty decent contract too, as he just turned 29 himself. 6-year, $30 million deal, averaging about $5 million a year. So that's a pretty decent contract for him. Again, you needed some physical presence on the defensive end. I know one of the names that was a free agent for the Bruins who's not going to be returning next year was Matt Grzelcyk. He wasn't really known to be like a physical defenseman or whatever, but Zendorov is going to be second-line defense, I believe. Yeah, I would say second-line defense because it's going to be McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm at the 1. And then it's going to be Zendorov and Brandon Carlo for the second line there. Oh, on this page here, they got Lindholm in the second line. Interesting. Maybe if you want a little bit more defensive presence on the first line, and then maybe like where Lindholm has shown some offensive flashes or whatever. Maybe you have him on the second line. I don't know, but you get my point. He's going to be either the first line defense or the second line defense. That's a legit defensive piece that the Bruins got, but also it was a very sad offseason for me personally for the Bruins, and that is because Jake DeBrusk is now gone. And that means no more give me DeBrusk over Barzell memes at games. He's going to Vancouver, which absolutely sucks. He was one of my favorites on the team. I really was hoping that they could keep DeBrusk because he played well during the playoffs. He had a very great postseason. And now, like, he's gone. And, like, it's so unfortunate. I really wanted to see him stay here. I know maybe that wasn't, like, a real plausible option for them because, like, maybe they needed to upgrade with him, but yeah, it just sucks. It sucks losing DeBrusk. That's definitely a huge blow to the team. We also lost 2 other players, I believe, to Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken correctly. We lost Forbort, and we lost Danton Heinen. Forbort, not really too crazy about, so like that at that point, like, okay, whatever, fine. Wasn't gonna be a part of your future. Cool. Heinen, you can easily replace a guy like that somewhere else. Okay, fine. Then Grizzly went to Pittsburgh. Linus Ullmark traded to the Ottawa Senators. Now, if you were going to lock up Jeremy Swayman for the future, I would say understandable. They ended up getting a first-round pick for that. They ended up getting a first-round pick for Linus Ullmark. I think they could have got more out of the trade, but so be it. But if you're trading Linus Ullmark and you're getting rid of the 2 goalies, like the goalie duo, you have to lock up Jeremy Swayman for the foreseeable future. And they haven't done that yet. Why? Why? I don't like the route that the Jeremy Swayman situation is going for the Bruins. I don't like that they're kind of taking a step back in the goalie department. Swayman played his ass off in the postseason. I'm not disagreeing with them trading Ullmark, but you need to lock up Jeremy Swayman now before he gets even more expensive. He's still a restricted free agent, but it's baffling to me that they still haven't come to an agreement yet for him to be on this team for the foreseeable future. Why would you get rid of Linus Ullmark if you don't know your goalie situation yet? If you don't know if you're going to pay Jeremy Swayman or not yet, why would you get rid of him? That's where I stand on that. So right now, I give the Bruins a B-, like early thoughts on the offseason, but let's head to the video here from Top Shelf Hockey, because it's 20 minutes video. We need to hop straight into it. Leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoy these videos. Subscribe now if you guys are new. You guys know what to do. Go check out our website. The link is in the description down below. Without further ado, stop straight in this video.
In today's video, we kick off a new series where we review all the off-season activity for each team and give the GM a grade. So GM report cards is returned for this offseason. We're getting started first with the Boston Bruins. We'll take a look at all their trades, signings, and grade their work coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we bring back the off-season review of the GM Report Card Series. Now that we're into August, of course, the off-season activity is kind of slowed down enough that we kind of have a pretty good idea of where teams are at. There's still some RFAs left to sign, obviously, including a key player here for the Bruins. But at the end of the day, we have a pretty good idea where things are at. Can't wait for every single player to get signed. Otherwise, it'll be too late starting this series before the season starts. So we're going to start by looking through the trades that the team has made. Look at how that's all played out. We'll take a look at any,
this video is going to give me a little bit of refresher too, because I haven't been following the NHL free agency
versus who's
or off-season
how does this
that
team
much.
look? Did they make enough moves here to make the team at least the same or better? So that's ultimately depending on where the team was at last year, if you're a high-ranking team had a really good year, at the very least, you want to come out thinking, okay, we're just as good.
Right.
If not better.
Right.
If they've gotten worse, I feel, then obviously that's going to impact the grade, which we'll do at the end of the video. So let's start first with looking at the Boston Bruins trades that they've made since their season ended here. There's not a lot, but there is a big one. The Linus Ullmark trade, ultimately sending the former Vezina Trophy winning
I give that one a
to
D+.
the Ottawa Senators. And I'm a little bit surprised.
And the only reason why I'm giving it a D+ is because they haven't signed Swayman yet. That's the only reason.
Pulled off this type of deal. Rookie GM Steve Staios, in my opinion, did a good job. But let's take a look at the full return here to the Bruins. Ultimately, if Ullmark does not re-sign in Ottawa, this could prove to be an especially good deal for the Bruins, given that, obviously Ottawa didn't benefit from his services for too long. But if he does play to his capabilities and ends up extending for, even a few extra years, then it's going to be a good deal for them for sure. Obviously, the jury's still out on how this return will look for the Bruins, but let's take a look. They get back Jonas Korpisalo. Of course, Korpisalo had signed a 5-year contract with the Ottawa Senators, only had 1 year in. Of course, it was not a good season at all. It was one of the worst in the league, analytically, statistically speaking. So 4 years left at $4 million per season. So he signed a free agent contract with the Sens last year, 5 times 4. One of Pierre Dorian's worst moves. I mean, a lot of us joked about the summer of Pierre the past couple of years before he was ultimately let go by Ottawa, and a lot of the moves he made looked good at the time and turned out not to be so good. And obviously, this Korpisalo signing is right at the top of that list. So Ottawa retains 25% of that contract. So that $4 million cap hit for the Bruins becomes $3 million. So they got Korpisalo on the books for 4 more years at $3 million per season. That is a very expensive backup goaltender, especially with.
And my thought process of it is, why couldn't you just keep Ullmark for 1 more season for an extra $2 million? That's where I don't get with the trade. That's why I felt like they should have gotten more. If you're going to take statistically one of the worst goaltenders in the league, for me, 1 first rounder is not enough.
Jeremy Swayman expected to be the goalie of the present and the future, playing a much bigger workload. He's going to command big bucks. He's going to have to play the games to earn that money. So, Korpisalo, really for the most part, is going to be a 1B or a backup. Probably only playing at most, assuming Swayman stays healthy, probably ideally 25 games. And you need a good goalie in those games that could ultimately have a major impact on your season. So they have Korpisalo with 25% retained. They get Mark Kastelik. Kastelik is a 4th-line player, has been the 4th-line center in Ottawa for parts of the past couple of seasons. He's a big dude, 6'4", 230 pounds or so. But he's very, very in great shape. He was always right at the top.
They have him as a 4th-line right
when it comes to training camp, all the cardio testing and everything like that for the Sens. He
on my screen
really,
here.
really well. So he's a big boy, but he's lean, and he's really good on face-offs. And certainly he can skate well for a big guy too. The knock on Kastelik is for a big guy. You want to see more physicality. I know this past year especially, numerous times when you get back to the bench after a shift, you'd see the coaches. I know even Danny Alfredsson's been a big role with the forwards here since he's gotten into coaching with Ottawa. And it would be like not every time, like a lot. It'd be like, tell him, finish your check. You're going in on a forecheck, and you're just doing a flyby. So you need to get, and if he can learn to build that into his game to be more physical on a regular basis, he could be a really good 4th-line player. I thought he had good potential in Ottawa. He's really good on face-offs. Like I said, he's got the size. He's not afraid to drop the mitts. He can be a tough guy, too. So certainly it adds size and strength and face-off ability to the bottom 6. So, in all honesty, I think the fact that he drops the gloves, I think Bruins fans will like Casty. It's just a matter of
that's good.
Will you get that physicality, shift in and shift out. If he can get that down, he'll be a real popular player in Boston. And then, of course, they get their 1st-round pick back, which ultimately was traded a few times, ended up with Ottawa, back to Boston. They drafted the big centerman, Dean Letourneau.
Yeah,
so
I forgot. The 1st-round pick was the Bruins pick that they picked up. Dude, you really traded for your own 1st-round pick back. It wasn't even Ottawa's 1st-round pick. It was your 1st-round pick to begin with. Oh my God, that's basically like not getting a first-round pick in return. Really? Yeah, you traded it away, but you got it back. Like, that was yours to begin with. So, like, did you really get the pick?
A guy similar size, actually, to Kastelik, maybe even a smidge bigger. Obviously younger, a little more raw. Might be a little bit of a project player, but I think the fact that you don't get a lot of opportunities to draft these huge centermen like
I'm
that.
done pausing
so I
this
can
video, by the way.
understand
I'm just
why
going to let it roll through
they
because,
did
again,
what they
20
did
minute
there. I
vid.
mean,
It's going to be a while.
I had him down as being a first round pick, somewhere in that bottom, probably 7 to 8 picks in the first round. So I was not shocked to see Boston go for Letourneau. So that's really the full return now. You get Korpisalo for 4 years, Kastelik and Letourneau. And I know that they were kind of going for cap space with an Allmark trade. They couldn't really afford to keep him and Swayman. They needed a cheaper option to be the tandem goalie with Swayman.
Not much.
I'm surprised Korpisalo's that guy.
Right.
So to be honest, I don't like that return for the Bruins. I
Me
like
neither.
Kastelik. I like Letourneau. They could be pieces, but for a Vezina Trophy winning goalie, you better hope Korpisalo can find his game. And to me, there's just a lot of risk. And except maybe he bounces
That's
back.
how I viewed it too.
He had a major hip surgery a couple of years ago as well.
Nice.
Had a good stretch in LA before he became a Senator at the end of the season before. But really, if you look at his history, there's not like a long stretch of strong play. It's just
great.
not like
That's phenomenal.
it got worse, mind you. But
Great.
Yeah, wasn't it? A great deal for the Senators. Not a great deal for the Bruins.
I agree.
I'm not loving that deal.
Should have got more.
But we'll see. They
Should have got
didn't really get a lot
more.
of relief. They get Korpisalo back with $3 million. Kastelik's making like $850 or $835, so they get a little bit of relief, over $1 million.
Not much.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't love that trade for the Bruins.
I would have
They
rather
also
just traded for picks
Jacob
straight
Lacko,
up.
and a 4th round pick to Minnesota for Vinny Lettieri and a 4th round pick. So they swapped spots in the 4th round of the draft, and then Lacko for Lettieri. So really, that's not a major trade.
Oh, yeah, no more Lauco either.
Yeah, it's kind of just swapping players to get fresh start. That's not a huge deal at all. Like I said, the Allmark trade was the main offseason move for Sweeney. Looking at the signings early before the draft, they re-signed a couple younger players that are going to be American Hockey Leaguers and maybe be call up. But Ian Mitchell, Brandon Bussey gets contracts, 1 year's, 2-way deals, $775. They're getting into free agency. Ultimately, they had some turnover. They re-signed a few players, including Mark McLaughlin. It's another 1 year deal, but they bring in some new names, some fresh talent via free agency from other teams, including the big signing being Elias Lindholm.
Yep.
It's a 7-year contract, 7.75. They signed Nikita Zadorov, 6 years,
Nikita
at
Zadorov.
$5 million per year. Bringing Max Jones from
I'll remember that
Anaheim,
now.
2 years
I will
at
now
$1 million
remember
per
that.
season.
You guys are going to roast me in the
Jordan
comment section. I
Osterlund
already
gets
know
a 2-year
it.
contract around league minimum, so that's pretty good. Riley Tufte comes in on a 1-year league minimum deal. He's an option. He could end up being an American Hockey Leaguer as well, but it has some experience, so it can be a call-up option at the very least as well. So really, for the most part, I like the players they've brought in. I don't love every contract. I think that Max Jones contract has a real potential to be pretty solid.
Yep,
It's $1 million.
that's the one I was
he
eyeing
can play in
on,
their
too.
bottom 6. He can give you, I think, some of the things that you hope Mark Kastelik brings you as well. So between Jones and Kastelik, that does really add
That's a good
some
bottom
size
6.
and decent skating into their bottom 6 there. Be more physical forecheck.
That'd be good bottom
so
6.
those are some good moves. There's a Zadorov contract and the Lindholm contracts for me. They're good players. I love the fit with the team. I just think they overpaid a bit. And unfortunately, on July 1, when you're bringing in players from other teams and you have a lot of competition, including the teams that they're with
overpay.
sometimes, you have to sometimes overpay.
Yeah,
July
and I'm not
1
going to knock them for
is
that.
Typically, it's always when you see players that are overpaid and mistakes made by general managers. It happens a lot. Not to say that players don't get re-signed with the same team and get a new big money deal and it doesn't work out and it was a big mistake. That does happen on occasion, but it happens a lot more when teams are bringing in players from elsewhere on the UFA day on July 1. So I don't think that these are going to be players that bomb or anything like. It's not going to be like epic fail. I just don't know that they're going to live up to those numbers.
hype.
Now, Elias
Right.
Lindholm, a lot of that contract was earned, to my opinion, when he was playing on the top line of the Calgary Flames.
Yep.
Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau.
Yep.
That was
So,
one of the best lines of
you're
hockey
hoping
for a
that
while.
he brings
It's been a little while, obviously, since he's had those line
somewhat
mates. His
of
numbers
that
dipped down.
production. That's why you're
We've
paying
seen
him.
Strong two-way play. That is a for sure.
Him with
without
Pasta and
Bergeron being
Zaka
there
is
now
gonna
for a
be-
year, they definitely needed that kind of
gotta be
player.
top
He's
notch.
Probably the best. I've been preaching that for about a year now. That Lindholm would be the best, player to bring in to try to give you what Bergeron did. He's not Patrice Bergeron. He'll never be Patrice Bergeron.
Right.
But he's probably the closest they can get for
Okay.
players that were available. I mean, are there other players that are two-way centers around the league that are better than Lindholm? Yeah, there is. I mean, he's one of the better ones. And for guys that were, possibly going to be moving, which you've known for some time that he would be, then it certainly makes sense that he would be a perfect fit there.
Right.
And Zadorov, he gives you the size. He loves the hit. I think he'll be a great fan favorite in Boston. We've seen it in Calgary.
you
We've
need
seen it in
physical
Vancouver. He's made his way around. Ultimately, though, I think for what he gives you, it'll be debatable if $5 million's a little bit much. He's definitely going to play top 4 minutes. So, playing top 4, along with McAvoy and Carlo, obviously, right up there. It's not. And then you get Hampus Lindholm too, so that gives him a really solid top 4.
That is a nice
right. You get
top
Mason
4.
Lohrei. I wonder if, because that's going to keep Lohrei kind of on your third pair.
Yep.
And eventually, though, like you would hope that Lohrei gets a bigger role as the youngster. I mean, he's going to work his way up and earn more minutes. And then you got Lindholm and Zadorov now, both signed for lucrative contracts long term. It's going to keep him down, right?
Yep.
So, not for that reason. I like the fit. I just don't, and even the money's not terrible. It's just 6 years for what you
It's a
have
long
coming
time.
up. It just does I'm not sure. Maybe a shorter term might have been better there. In Lindholm's case, again, I don't have an issue with the term for Lindholm. I think he's at a good age that the years should be fine. I think he'll play into his later years of his career as well. I just don't know that he's going to give you the offense to
Right.
produce that type
Right,
of contract. But if he gets a chance to play, and he will definitely get a chance to play with some stronger players. If you look at after the Flames lost Gaudreau and Tkachuk, obviously he had different line mates. When you looked at him in Vancouver, he was largely playing on the third line. I think initially, if I'm not mistaken,
damn.
they gave him a chance to play with Pettersson on the wing, and that wasn't really working the greatest, so they moved him to be the
Okay,
3C,
then, yeah.
which 3C for Lindholm, that's a really deep center depth for the team, and they did really well. But he wasn't getting a ton of offense. He was playing more strong defensively.
Right.
Had a bit of an offensive output when he first got there, and then it kind of leveled off.
Right.
So, if he can play consistently, top 6 centerman, really he should ultimately be the team's number 1 center. If he
Yep,
gets a
I said
chance to
that.
play with Pasternak a lot, well, that's going to help with the point totals if he's feeding him.
Yeah.
He is more of a shoot-first centerman as well, so maybe playing him with Pasternak may not be the absolute best spot. Maybe he plays more with Marchand. And if you look at their top 6, I mean, he's going to play with one of them. I mean, the projected lineup right now has Lindholm with Pasternak and Zaka.
Yep.
And that could very well work. That his point totals could go up because of that. And if it does, well, then ultimately that contract will work out. It just comes with some risk based on his more recent play.
Obviously,
but given
yeah.
the role that they can
The
give
numbers
him,
from the
it,
regular season weren't that
theoretically should
appealing.
be all right.
But his
obviously
past
a 7-year
with
term,
Calgary,
he's probably
though,
going to play long
yeah,
after
I can get on
Marchand's
board
done.
with those numbers.
And then you've got, they're going to have to find some more top 6 forwards or have them elevated within or internally here over the next year or two as guys that are continue to get a little bit older, like Marchand and Coyle, etc. So we'll see. So that's pretty well all of their signings. So if you kind of summarize things, for players that are no longer there with the Bruins, out we have Linus Ullmark, Jake DeBrusk, who was a pretty consistent, mostly top 6, but at times third line player. JVR is no longer there. We got Danton Heinen in return. Those two guys were both just shy of 40 points last year, so that's decent amount of offense that's no longer with the team.
Yeah.
Lauko's gone. On the back end, you got Grzelcyk and Forbort, as well as Shattenkirk. So there's 3 veteran defensemen out.
Not really too crazy
you
about
mainly brought in
losing Grzelcyk.
Zadorov, and then Osterley will be like your number 7 guy essentially. Pat Maroon, who they picked up at the deadline, did not remain.
That
Milan
one
Lucic,
kinda
who
hurts.
signed a 1-year deal with the Bruins last year, only played a handful of games before he ended up in a personal matter in the courts. Ended up on a leave of
DeBrusque
absence, I think is what they call
Maroon,
it. And
those
he's not
ones are the
returned.
ones that
he's not
are
signed. I'm
eye-opening
not
for
sure if
me.
Lucic is ever going to play anymore. Haven't heard anything about him, so I'm not sure where things stand. But he's currently not signed with the Bruins. So that's a lot of guys out. 3 veteran defensemen, but none of the guys there that really had a huge role. The main changes are in your middle 6 part of your lineup, where you got like DeBrusque, JVR, and Heinen. Those 3 guys all put up decent production, whereas you're bringing in guys like Elias Lindholm and Max Jones. And then of course through trade you got Kastelik for the bottom 6 there, and you're hoping that Matt Poitras, who had a good start to the year, went back to junior, maybe he makes the jump next year as well. So ultimately on the inside for joining the team, you get Zadorov, Lindholm, Jones, Tufte, and Osterley. And of course there's some minor league deals, but we're not going to get into every single one of those. So you're looking at your lineup now. Likely in the forward group you're going to have Lindholm. Likely projected right now that he could play with Pasternak and Zaka.
Yep.
Whereas you're going to probably have Coyle, Marchand, maybe Geeky as the second line. Third line's projecting it could be Justin Brazeau with Frederick and Matt Poitras perhaps. And then the fourth line could be a combination of Max Jones, Mark Kastelik, and Johnny Beecher. So that fourth line I like. It gives you
the fourth line is
pretty
nice.
good on faceoff. Kastelik's good on faceoffs. Good speed there, physicality. So that's a pretty good looking fourth line. The third line is not too bad. I do like Brazeau and Frederick. They can definitely bring a different element. Lots more size in that lineup for sure. Geeky to me though is not a top 6. So they're still short of top 6 guys. So I would imagine that this is going to be their main area of focus. Maybe near the deadline is to add another scoring forward. Of course, between the pipes, you got Swayman and Korpisalo. Korpisalo, obviously a big member of the, which I forgot to mention here, being on the inside. So, obviously, to play him off of Allmark is quite a change, right? So goaltending, you had Allmark and Swayman. Now you have Swayman and Korpisalo. That's definitely a downgrade. Yeah. The other thing about Jeremy Swayman, as I record this video, he is not signed, so there's a little bit of an incomplete there. But it is rumored that he's looking for a $9 million deal if they go like 7-8 years. Maybe it's more shorter term in $6 million range.
$9 million
maybe it's,
a year?
3-4 years of that. I'm not sure what they end up doing, but at the end of the day, you could say that the goaltending tandem is not as good as it was before.
Shit.
And Swayman, because of having Allmark there, never had to play the bigger workload. So he's been really good, and I have no doubt he's going to be fine, but he's yet to show that he can play 60, 65 games and do the same results. So that's going to be something to look for this year as well.
That is a lot of money,
on the back end, like I said,
but
you've got
you have
Zadorov,
to do it, though.
McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo.
I feel like you have to do it.
You guys that are gone are Grzelcyk, Forbort, Shattenkirk. I think that, and then of course you get Osterley as the extra there. To me, that blue line is probably even better than last year. So I think they've improved the blue line a bit.
I would agree with that.
I'm going to say that overall, I'm going to say the forward group was somewhat comparable. But if you look at the production of DeBrusque, JVR, Heinen, like the guys that were playing in your middle 6 type of roles, second, third line, and then you insert guys like obviously Lindholm being your main one, and then you've got Kastelik coming in, and then you're hoping Poitras can rejoin from the junior ranks. We don't know what he's going to be capable of in a full season if he makes the team. If Poitras can't go, or if they don't feel he's ready, maybe we have to see another move here. Maybe another player gets brought in. I'm not sure, but the forward group, I don't know that they're quite as deep, but they can hopefully be better two-way with the addition of Lindholm, and definitely have more size. So I'm going to kind of give them a passing grade there, but I'm not sure that they're going to produce quite as much offense.
Right.
And if they don't, that's going to be a problem because I don't think the goaltending is going to be as good.
Right.
Overall, Swayman will have to be able to, if he can play the bigger workload and keep the same stats up, and then you get the blue line just as good or better. Ultimately, I think this team is going to be, they're still going to be a playoff team, I think. I do see them probably overall, it's hard to say, right? Because we don't know. But I'm going to give the GM Don Sweeney a grade of a B- here, mainly because
that's what I
the
said,
contract's
right?
not done.
B-,
how they handle that. Maybe that grade
understandable.
Changes. Maybe it goes to either up to a B+, A-. But for the most part, like the Allmark trade wasn't awesome. It could be okay, but it could have been better, I think.
Yeah.
And then with the signings, like, I will see how things work out. But at the end of the day, they don't, because the Swayman contract's not done yet. I thought they would have been a little bit more aggressive getting that done so that they could maybe try to squeeze some more money if they can find it to improve the forward group. It's going to be tough given where they're at with the cap. So let me know your thoughts on all of the moves and how you.
W video. I think you kind of hit it spot on. What did I say at the beginning? B-, right? I think I said B-. I don't disagree with that. Elias Lindholm signing, I thought was a decent signing. You needed a frontline center. Elias Lindholm is a frontline center. When he is a frontline center, like he was with Calgary, look at the numbers. His numbers were great. His numbers were phenomenal. His numbers are deserving of that contract. Nikita Zadorov, that one's decent as well. That signing is decent as well because he's a physical-minded defenseman where he plays aggressive. You need that. That's the culture of the big bad Bruins here. He loves to hit. Everything else. Blocks quite a few shots. You really can't ask for much more from a defenseman there. But like he said though, those were like really the two biggest moves. The Max Jones contract could be a steal, could be, but we don't know that. And they lost DeBrus, they lost Heinen, they lost JVR. I think JVR is still a free agent. Yeah, JVR I think is still a free agent, if I'm not mistaken correctly. Yeah, he's still a free agent. Okay, so they could still bring back JVR, but from what they lost with the Wings, how's that offense going to look? Is it going to be better? Only time's going to tell with that one. But right now, defense, I definitely think you got better. And how is Jeremy Swayman not locked up yet? But I agree with his grade. B-, I would agree with that. I would have them like C+, B-, somewhere around there. So, really can't disagree with that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below of the Bruins offseason so far. What would you give them for a grade so far? Leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed these videos. Subscribe now if you guys new. You guys know what to do. Go check out our website. The link's in the description down below. Shout out to Top Shelf Hockey. I will leave his links in the description down below. Well, it's been your boy Jesse, and we'll see ya in the next video. Later, guys.